Hey guys, I'm about to show you a replay from a workshop I did with Sam Miller. If you don't know who Sam Miller is, she's one of the leading voices helping people overcome chronic symptoms. The workshop was 2 hours long, but I'm only going to show you 1 hour of the workshop because for confidentiality purposes, I didn't want everyone's faces to be shown on the replay on YouTube. In this hour, Sam is going to speak about why allowing is key to overcoming chronic symptoms, what allowing means. She's going to speak about why symptoms often get worse before they get better. She's going to speak about why we get symptoms in the first place. She's going to speak about why reassurance is often a hindrance to getting better. And she's going to speak about much, much more. At the end of the hour, she also leads an allowing practice. It's like a mini meditation. So you can immediately start to practice and understand what you can do every single day to get relief from your chronic symptoms. On the call, on the replay, you're going to see my eyes darting around a lot. It's not because I'm ignoring Sam, it's because we were on a live call with 30 participants. I'm answering people's questions in the chat. I'm letting people in and out of the Zoom room, so there's a lot going on. It's not because I'm ignoring Sam. If you want to watch the full 2 hours, where people ask questions, Sam answers them, she goes into more detail, then head over to my pain relief community and you can watch the full 2 hours instead of just this hour. Otherwise, enjoy.
Hello, I'm Sam, and I teach staff about not interfering with nature effectively. So, yes.
I told you you'd do a better intro than me.
Well, I just made that up on the hoof.
It's better. It was better than what I would have done. Really wonderful. I mean, I learned about you, Sam, because some of the members who are here in the community, they started posting your videos in my community. And I watched them and I was like, wow, this is fantastic. The way that you share things, obviously, we're very aligned in our practice, but you have
Mm.
a really wonderful way of describing the process and the subtleties and the nuances that you bring up as well. You say with such conviction, and I could tell you'd been through it yourself or you'd helped a lot of people through it. It was really clear to me from watching your videos alone. And then obviously when we met each other, it was even clearer. Yeah, she's in it. She's in the
Yeah.
process. So, by the way, everyone, throughout it, there'll be time for questions at the end. I'm sure maybe you all have questions that you already want to ask. But throughout the first hour, when Sam and I are talking, make sure to write down your questions
Mm.
and you can ask them at the end. So I think there's so many questions I want to ask Sam. I think the first question I really want to ask is all about this notion of how we want things to come up in the process. And how and that's very difficult for people. I remember when I was going through this, anything that felt as if it was getting worse, it just felt like I was doing something wrong. It felt like there was an error. It just felt like I was on the wrong path. So could you talk about that a bit about?
Well, I think in our culture, and people who have been achievers and actioners and everything, as most of us will have done because of our previous experiences. We will be achievers, we'll be left brain people, we'll be living in our thinking brain, we'll be neck up type of people. We have always felt that we have had to make things happen rather than to let things happen. And collectively and personally, we are mostly disconnected, not only from nature as a whole, but from our own nature. Because of reasons of poor attachment, poor attunement, not being able to be ourselves often as children, not being able to express ourselves authentically. And we've kind of lost our instinct, okay? And our instinct is trying to return, but it's returning as symptoms. And as people who perhaps haven't felt just been able to sit back in our lives and let things unfold and happen, we've always had to be the actioners in our reality. We are now trying to approach where we are with what's actually essentially, if you have symptoms, you are already healing. Your symptoms are the organism trying to heal itself, even though it won't feel like it, if we allow it. But if we approach it with the same mindset that we have to expedite this by do things with symptoms, we will prolong and even not, we'll deepen our problems. And there seems to be like a huge movement now to try and treat the body as if it's a machine, biohacking, constantly trying to get rid of symptoms, working with desperate attempts to try and regulate a nervous system. There's no need to do that. that is not required. The nervous system will regulate itself once we allow the key regulators of the nervous system, aka our primary emotions, to come back into the dynamic play of the system. You cannot make it happen. And I guess every single person here will have possibly been through so many things to try and make things happen, whether it's exercise, whether it's biohacks, whether it's diet, supplements, all of these things. There are certain things we do have to do to support nature, as with anything. Absolutely non-negotiable, which for me is always providing a safe framework to signal to your brain, to your ego, that what's coming into consciousness is now okay. And that provides the container within which chaos, as it feels, can unfold. Okay, but it's safe. It is completely safe to experience anything the body does for you in the present. And it will only give you what you can cope with in the present, which will then be able to integrate. The problem is, and this is a massive, massive, massive problem, you see it across everything here, people trying to go in to the unconscious, people trying to bring things into the present, which they're not ready to now then integrate. And it's a natural process if we learn how not to keep poking it. And it might seem slower than you would like. It might seem very difficult not to have to interfere all the time and control things, because we are the managers and the organizers and the sorters and the type A personalities, which of course a type A personality is the trauma response. It's an adaptation. So does that resonate with anyone here? Not. Possibly, possibly not. But everybody in my membership, we're all kind of the same person, really. We're just adapting to environments that we had to because we weren't able to be ourselves for whatever reason. You know, at a wider environmental sense, within our own families, within our communities and what have you. So we had to become what we needed to become to get this far. And by the time you start having symptoms, the system is already healing you. And that's the really hard thing for people to understand. But I often equate it to, like, by the time, if you have a cold, you've got a snotty nose and you're coughing, you're almost over the cold. This is the corrective response as the balance has happened. And by the time you have symptoms, this is a system that's actioned a process that is going to stop you expending your time out there being the person you had to be, to bring you into yourself, so that you can actually now update the past, update everything you've been repressing, and come back to yourself. And it isn't comfortable, and the ego is going to want to resist it, the person you think you are, which is why we have to do it in a nice, slow, structured way within a routine, particularly if people have things like CFSME, but pretty much everything. So we don't flood ourselves, we don't overwhelm ourselves, and we can consistently turn up and experience with neutrality and allow what's happening. So I don't know if that's kind of tumbleweed or that's making any sort of sense to people. But ultimately, what's happening is something that's being engineered by the greater wisdom of your body's intelligence, your psyche, the self. It's doing it for you. It is the great corrective within nature, and it knows what you need. It will only give you what you need. And most of us have overused our bodies. We have strayed from who we are. We have given ourselves to others. We have denied our truth. We have repressed our emotions. We have exiled aspects of our desires, who we are, what we want, everything. And now the system has said, enough. It's like the great strong mother who's just pulled you back and just said, no more. You're going to kick and scream, but it's for your own good. And actually nature knows what to do if we surrender to her wisdom.
It's perfect as any answer, you know, that I could give. I mean, there were so many questions I had then in everything that you just shared. You mentioned primal emotions, you mentioned learning to, in your words, learning to acclimatize to chaos. I believe you called it chaos.
Yes, because actually as you start to allow that which has been repressed to come back into consciousness, aka your symptoms, it will feel absolutely chaotic. In the same way, if we have abused the environment in some way, the great corrective, we only have to see this now with climate change, are tornadoes. They are brutal, they are firestorms, but they are the storm, which clears the sky. But we have to become the sky, if you like, and try and establish a neutrality to allow this to happen. And it can feel quite dramatic, but it's safe and you want it, but you don't like it. Understand?
Doesn't really
because
allow.
it feels like utter annihilating shit, which is what it is, because your ego is being updated to who you actually are. The performative self, which was an adaptive mechanism, everything you are has been a coping mechanism to this point. And I hope people agree with that. You have become who you had to be to survive. You've become the people pleaser, the helper, the funny person, the quiet person, the person who doesn't do anger, whatever you've had to do to get your needs met. And now it's time to take the costume off and get off the stage. Really, that's what this is about. This is kind of waking up to ourselves. That's the way I certainly understand it.
Hamza, do you mind if we ask questions at the end? Is that okay?
Sure, it wasn't a question, more of a comment, but I'm happy to do that afterwards, not a problem.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Okay, unless there's any pressing comment that someone needs to make in the middle of that they're just burning with, and it's just, they'll forget, that's fine. But I need to know, is that resonating with people?
The idea of waking up, yes.
The idea of just like, we've been a version of ourselves we had to be, and we're now exhausted. And it really is the self just doing this massive intervention and just saying, stop it, stop being her or him. It's time to start being yourself. And we would never, ever stop unless that intervention was there. It's the only way to get us back in our bodies, back in a quiet place, stop spending all our energy servicing an old model, giving it away to other people, performing for a society that is so sick anyway. We don't want to fit into it. We want to be our own society. And it's the only way it would happen. Plus, it's the only way that the people around us would accept it. Do you think if you just said to people, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore because it doesn't really feel right to me, they're not going to respect it. They're still going to demand of you that you turn up, show up, be that thing, provide the service, be everything they've relied upon. If you're in bed, if you are taken out of the system, suddenly they have to respect that. You can't be all things to all people. You can't be running the show if you're in bed, or for whatever, you can't walk because you've got such back pain, or whatever it might be. It's one of the only brilliant, legitimate ways the self organizes it so you can actually stop feeding the old version, and that people have to accept it. And even then, some people don't.
I'd say most people don't. People come and they feel as if they're not progressing in the process in some way or another, and they feel like they're doing it wrong, or they're in the minority. I'm like, the majority of the world will never embark on something like this. It takes such courage to do it. I'd say the majority of the world, anything like this ever occurs, and they just, again, complete love to them, they'll go and do all the things that we're taught to do. Until
they fail and they end up in my membership. So basically everyone's spent the ridiculous, they have the stem cells, done the blah, 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 blah. They're out of money. They're okay. It's like, right, okay, what now? And everything else has been exhausted to some extent. And people are then ready to listen, then to confront themselves coming back to themselves. But the ego, in a way, has to become so exhausted of managing that it will soften sufficient enough. It's like, oh God, what's that thing you were talking about again? What, feeling my feelings, being hurt, being authentic. Oh my God, what does that even mean? We don't know, because it's in the unconscious. It's been buried so deeply because once it was so dangerous to be us. We are still operating on programs that may have been adapted as a map to fit our lives when we were 4, to be quiet, to be good, to be helpful, to be pretty, to be perfect. That the territory has changed. We're putting old maps on this territory, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And people will the ego will keep running its own models, because all it does, it just keeps the same algorithm going over and over again until we give it some new information. And the new information is what we're allowing now to feel, to be who we are, to say no rather than yes for fear of being rejected, to say yes rather than saying no, to express boundaries, to be guided by what we truly think, and risk the fact that someone might abandon us or rejection, because it was dangerous when you're 4, but it's not now. There'll be natural wastage in this process. Okay, it's fine, because it just creates new vacancies in your life, and you want that.
Just want to read some of the comments I've just got coming through. What have I
Who
got?
is this woman? Make her go away.
Paolo, if I press multiple, oh, Paolo, you're just helping us with the speaker thing. Thanks. Vero, Sam, thanks for your great knowledge. I'm fascinated with you and your experience and wisdom. Victoria, there's a yes for Victoria. Grayson, absolutely. Heidi, 100%. So people are resonating in the comments, Sam, because obviously that's why everyone has made their way to this call, because I'm sure they've watched you and they resonate with this message in some way. I think what I'd really like to ask is when people embark on the process and they find symptoms really coming up, and it's a practitioners have spoken about it for ages. It's called the healing crisis. Things will often get worse before they get better.
Yes.
But I wonder, I really love your perspective on it. So I wonder if you could share more about that, about how we want anxiety to get bigger and we want these things to get bigger.
Yes. So if ultimately you are repressing your life force, your energy in some way, and you want to have it back, because of course energy can either be destroyed or made or destroyed. That's the nature. That's just sort of basic physics. What it can do is meant to transform the whole time, and pretty much you have the same sort of energy operating in your system, give or take a little bit, but we have a set amount. It should be flowing the whole time. It should be operating the whole system. It's its own little ecosystem. But if we prevent it by preventing primary emotions, which are pure energy in motion, okay, they are just an energetic charge that is bringing the outside world to you and telling you that way, yes, no, opportunity, threat, boundary, whatever, and we repressed it, that is energy that should have been discharged, action, do an emotional arc, and complete in about a minute and a half. Now, if for some reason we're not allowed, because we might get punished, mocked, invalidated by being an emotional person, that emotion, which is always actioned at an unconscious level, it's not something we make happen. And a lot of people don't even understand what emotions are. They think they're thoughts. They're not. This is automatically generated for you. If you're in danger, you will automatically have it actioned. It will move up. It will become a tangible emotion as it comes into consciousness. Then go, danger, you'll run, you'll do whatever you need to do. Now, if at some point you've had to suppress that because it risked disconnection from your caregivers, your environment, it risked the opprobrium, invalidation, you would sacrifice that to get your needs met as a child. You couldn't go and get your own food. You couldn't do this. You had to adapt. You had to change your shape to fit, square peg, round hole, until you can get to the point which you can then go, I'm going to now reclaim my shape. So in the short term, this is a brilliant adaptation. We will suppress who we are for the short term so we can get to a place of safety, if you like, and then express ourselves. So that emotional charge that rises, it gets truncated, it turns inward and gets held in the body as energy. It's great. It's meant to be there for short term so we can later discharge it in a place of safety. So if you're in a war zone and you're frightened, you're not going to break down there. You can hold it. You can then go back behind the lines and express the fear, shake, do all of that kind of thing. But if we have to routinely do this to such an extent, it becomes what goes into procedural memory, a bit like driving a car, it becomes automatic. It's so important not to feel anger or sadness or be her or whatever. We're just going to put that automatically because it saves resources in the brain, because you have energy that's always trying to be being utilized in the most efficient way. Well, clearly she doesn't do that. We'll just put that there. It's an automatic thing. And if anger comes up in the body, She doesn't do that. So before it comes to conscious, we'll just put that in the body, and it gets stored in your somatic memory. It gets stored in the cells, in the tissues, in the viscera, in the fascia, which is why we start to, a lot of people might have stiffness. We might feel our legs feel congested and full at the rate, and we start to get heavy. Now, that's energy which is now out of commission, energy that can't be part of this dynamic whole. And also it's energy that gets frozen, and it gets frozen, and it then has to use more energy in your system to keep it in the shadow. So suddenly, from having this energy that's flowing, you've taken some of it out of commission. So this energy builds up in the shadow, in the body, held in the nervous system, held in the body. The nervous system dysregulates as an attempt to stop you actually destroying your body. And if people don't understand this, they think, I've got to regulate my nervous system. No, you haven't. You've got to allow it to empty. And so some people with CFS, like, when I was so ill, you can barely have the energy to just pick your hand up. I had the same energy as I'd always had. There was that much available in consciousness. The rest of it was was effectively repressing all the survival responses I wasn't able to take in relation to having a violent father. So I couldn't defend myself. I couldn't express myself, surgeries I'd had, and all the other things in life. Okay. So it all got squashed down. So I was trying to operate on this tiny little amount, because effectively the system doesn't care. The ego, which is the center of consciousness, only maintains who it thinks you are. This is another thing that's misunderstood. People say, your brain is trying to protect you. No. Your brain is protecting the version of you that is part of the spec it thinks you are. And if it thinks you're someone that doesn't do anger, doesn't cry, doesn't express herself, it will put you in bed. It will give you eating disorders. It will it will actually kill your body. To maintain that self-concept, it will make you a heroin addict. It will make you starve yourself to death. It will make you do anything. It doesn't care, because even if your body dies, the ego has maintained intact. It's kept its job. And all those parts of you that threatened it long ago, still don't have to ever threaten the self-concept. So what we're now trying to do is, those are full of energy. We want to bring them back bit by bit, and they're trying to come back. And this, as you say, is the healing crisis, because it's like anything. There's a finite amount it can contain. This is not infinite storage capacity, right? It gets too much. Your bucket fills. Your shadow becomes too dense. Your allostatic load, whatever you wish to call it, is so full. It's like one drop. It's the wafer thin mint after the 7-course meal, and then bam. And people think, oh, it's the mint. It was the vaccine. It was that thing. It was that I did too much. In actual fact, it was just storage full. You literally can't even take a photo on your camera because it's so congested. And actually, your symptoms now are, for most people, if they haven't actively sought to do this work, are one of the ways that the psyche will choose to now empty this forcibly through the body. So it's going to give you symptoms at the very place you started to repress them. If you started to repress them early on, it'll be through gut issues. It'll be through IBS. It'll be through pelvic pain, difficult menstrual thing, lower back pain. And then if you don't feel your emotions, then it will move up. It'll start to become anxiety. It will move up, and then it will start to become, chronic fatigue. It will start to become upper GI tract issues. It'll start to become reflux, all the way up until you're at the absolute top of the tree, which will be vestibular issues. And every single thing follows the same somatic ladder as the emotions you repressed would. So, anything low. So often people will always have, you can show of hands. So many people say, oh, but my problem started with CFS. I've never had anything before. And you go, really? Really? And you'll go back, and there was anxiety. Before that, there was, often starts with these things down here. It might have been a pain in your foot, or gluten intolerance, little tweaky things, tummy upset when you're a child, where these emotions are first repressed, and then it goes up and up and up and up and up. And this is good news. So the emotion is now trying to complete a journey that was truncated years ago, and it's doing it in exactly the same route. The exact same route that it would have taken a minute and a half to do. It's now having to do over years, but it's having to come through as gut pain. It's having to come through as lower back pain. It's coming through as wherever you suppressed it. And if you then allow it, the energy will release. Now, the reason, let me just explain. This is from a depth psychology point of view. It doesn't just explode out as energy. It's because the ego is already tuned to say, we don't do emotion. We don't do primary emotion. So in a way, it shape shifts and it becomes something palatable to the ego. Back pain, gluten intolerance, anxiety. Because one of the brilliant tricks of the system, which is self-correcting, you cannot process an emotion up here. It has to be in the body. Now, I don't know about you, but there's nothing that's going to get you into the body faster than stabbing pain. That's going to get you out of your head and into your body than something that is so screaming at you, you have to go to it. But the problem is we go to it and we don't allow it finally to do what it's been trying to do, which is saying, please, will you just feel this so I can regulate you and bring you back online in coherence. We then go to the very thing that has become the proxy, is actually trying to heal us, and then we push that back into the shadow. We take drugs, we try and calm it down, and all it wants to do is complete. It's an energetic charge. It is the law of nature. It is a bioenergetic fact. And emotions are true energy. They are biological imperatives. They are not abstract thoughts. And most people don't even understand what an emotion is. So sorry, that was a very long thing. I can't remember what you asked me. But,
you don't need to apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. It was wonderful points. I mean, lots of wonderful comments coming in. Just to read them. Carol, found Sam 2 or 3 months ago. It's been a game changer for me after doing so much to help me heal. To know learning to just allow, totally resonate with people pleaser, speak with spoken to, when spoken to, not saying no type person with little to no boundaries. This is the only thing that's not triggering my system a lot more, and I've tried a lot. Love and gratitude. Sam, look forward to January's course too, Carol.
Oh, good. You're joining us. Lovely. Great.
Carol, Hamza, brilliant points. Ray, Sam, thank you, making so much sense. Yeah, you don't have to apologize. You made lots of amazing points. The original question was answered in there. It seems, people embark on this process and they begin to start to allow things, and symptoms can often feel a lot bigger.
Oh, yes, exactly. I didn't answer that. So it's basically, if you've repressed something and now you're allowing it, is it going to seem bigger? Of course it is. The disallowed, you've said, I can't feel you. You've opened the door. So of course you're going to feel it more. So people's symptoms will spike as we allow, and they think, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. I've done too much. I have overdone it. I've got a new symptom. No, you haven't. And this is why, because we've lost our connection with the body and you're at a lag, you are now allowing, say, for example, anger you felt when you were 6 because someone tried to hit you or hurt you. You're allowing it in. It doesn't know. It still thinks it's a minute and a half, a minute and a half job. So it's suddenly this thing that was paused, you press the unfreeze button, it's carrying up, arriving to deliver the message to the brain to take action. And suddenly you've got this terrible rage and you're sitting in a room with a cat on your lap and you don't know what the hell it is. So this is where you just think, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm now feeling like an emotional wreck. Or before that, you're just feeling the symptoms. So it doesn't make sense. And this is where people think, I have done too much. You haven't. But it's really, really important. It's not just simply you can just say, I can just allow, because even that is just like the most unbelievable skill, not to interfere. But you have to do it consistently. If you are saying, yeah, okay, once it wasn't okay to feel that anger because I get hit as a kid, but now I'm not a kid and it is okay to feel the anger, you can't only allow it 9 times out of 10. You've got to allow it 10 times out of 10. Now, that's not going to be very easy. So what we have is a backup system, which is called a schedule, which means you do pretty much the same thing every day. Everything that might trigger or expose you. So let's say a back pain person. So let's say your back pain is anger, which mostly it is actually, I would say. Unexpressed anger that's collected lower in the system. You have got to do the thing that provokes or allows this to move through every time. And if you do it in a schedule, and a schedule always has a baseline predicated on your worst day, when you are flaring, when you feel the worst, when you're kind of, oh my God, I need to go to A&E day, right? That's your baseline. You never do more on a good day and you never do less on a bad day. That way, every day you are, say, doing a 5-minute walk for your back. You are exposing yourself to the repressed emotion, and you're exposing yourself to that which has been the somatic marker for it, the placeholder for it, which is the activity, which means the amygdala, which tags everything with this internal map for safety and threat, goes, oh, well, she doesn't even like it. She's offline because we can't actively allow it. But she's still doing the walk. It's off the suspects list. The walk is in. The anger at that level, which is underneath it, is in. I know it sounds really abstract, but trust me, this is true. And it stops you going mad, thinking, should I do this? Is this too much? Oh my God, should I go to that thing? Blah, blah, blah. It's in or it's not in. It's 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. You're meant to go for a walk. You do it every time. And it takes the pressure, the guesswork, the thing, is it safe or not? Am I going to make myself worse or better, out of it? So it means you can flare throughout it. And I do want to talk, John, to you about the misunderstanding about flares, because this is fundamental and no one seems to understand this out there. Okay. Is that so all of this can happen because it is the tornado. This is the storm. This is the storm. You finally open the door and gone, you're letting it. You are letting the weather pattern change to calm. And if you've never really kind of understood that storms are there, you are going to be freaking. But if you're the container, the schedule, you know that you are going to have this storm. It's a bit like, I always use the analogy, charmingly, of vomiting up something, because that's effectively what we're doing. We are allowing ourselves to discharge something that's been held in stasis in our system. It doesn't feel very pleasant, but it is the healing. And it has to come out and through, emovere, emotion, Latin, to move out, to complete its cycle. So you don't want to be puking all day. You want to do it in ways that sometimes after you've been sick, you need a rest. Other times you're feeling like very, very queasy. But whatever you have stuck to, you just show up and do it. And there'll be stages when you're allowing, you will have days and days of total insomnia, because as you allow stuff, there's sympathetic activation as stuff moves in and the ego tries to defend it. So you'll be awake. You don't think, oh, I must take sleep medication. If I don't sleep, I'll never get well because I've got an energy problem. You've just blown it again. You let your body do whatever it wants to do. It might give you raging tachycardia. Why? Because it's moving stuff around you. It will give you air hunger. The breath is the vehicle which moves this trapped energy into consciousness to complete it. You have to trust your body never, ever makes a single mistake ever. It is the most exquisite mechanism in the universe, and it will sequence things like a precision tool like you cannot imagine if you let it. If you let it. But if, say, for example, your tachycardia, your POTS is a problem. Some doctor says, oh, yeah, we better give you a beta blocker. You have just interrupted the very mechanism that is trying to midwife through a repressed charge. You've just blown it again. So it's the old way of thinking. We think we shouldn't feel like this. But if you have avoided every emotion, repressed, overridden and bypassed everything for decades, It's not going to be a light rain shower when you start to allow the weather. It's going to be a flipping tsunami. So you better make a strong container that you can go, wow, I'm still going to go out in this. I'm just going to have better clothing and be more educated as to the fact that it feels dangerous, because quite often what you're processing is fear, but it's not. You're just vomiting up the fear, vomiting up the anger, vomiting up the deep grief you couldn't feel, and it's gone. And it will exactly brolly up. There's no such thing as bad weather, only inappropriate clothing, as my grandmother said. And it's true. And you become the safe container for that. We do that in two ways. With the container, which is the schedule, which means you do the same thing every day, and your ego go, oh, I feel a bit better today. No, just blown it again. You have to be so consistent. It's so boring. And then you increase it and increase it, increase it. It's the fastest way to get there. The fastest way. And the tornado, the weather pattern can just let rip, which it will. So the other thing we need to do, just to point out, is flares. Most people don't know what a flare is. They think it's a bad thing. The flare is the healing. It's the most important part of the whole process. So let's think of it this way. ABC. This is your repressed unconscious that's been holding, say, a load of fear, right? And it's been trying to express this for 33 years. And to do that, it's been trying to do it for however long, through sensations, whatever. And it's just trying to get here. It's like a long corridor. It's just trying to get to here. The present moment in your body is here. We want it to go through here. It's like the vomiting up thing. We have to allow it to be felt in consciousness. This is your symptom. This is what's beneath your anxiety, what's beneath your back pain. And you have to be with it and allow it in a schedule, and it's now in consciousness. That's great, but it's not in yet. And this is where plant medicine and things completely fucks up, and breath work and all of that stuff. So you release it, fabulous. Now we've got to convince the ego. We've got it to the door. The ego's opened the door and it's going, yeah. I remember putting you over there because once you were really dangerous. So no thanks. But you're like, no, we're allowing it, we're allowing it. And as the ego is persistently aware of you doing the same thing over and again, allowing day in, day out, it's just a mechanism waiting control. It goes, okay, maybe we do that. Maybe we do that now. And it's in. And that's what happens when we have a flare. Now, a flare is the worst part of it because it's the ego's resistance. It will defend it against it. And what's really important to understand about a flare is once the new information, that emotion you've repressed, that aspect of you you've denied, is allowed through the door, it has to integrate neurobiologically at an actual level that takes energy. So you've got something called the default mode network, which is an operating system, which is your map. It's just the thing of like, this is who we are, we do that, we don't do that, blah, blah, blah. It's just the algorithm of who it thinks you are, okay? But it's the old map. So you've now introduced something new to the map. It's like, oh God, we've got to reconfigure the whole map to now introduce, to include this new thing, to reconfigure it. This is a neurobiological update. It takes vast amounts of energy. It also has to take your prefrontal cortex offline for maintenance. So you go offline, you go into amygdala hijack, you've got brain fog, you think you've got flu, you think you've had a hangover and jet lag all at once. Because effectively, your ego is having like a histamine response to something that it thinks is foreign. It's like when you have a vaccine. You introduce something into the system and the system goes, no, that's not us. But if you stay with it, eventually it's going, oh, apparently it is. The whole thing updates. And for most people, a flare will last 2-3 days when they're scheduled. And you suddenly, after 3 days of feeling absolutely batshit, rumination, oh my God, I've overdone it, this, that, and the other, you suddenly go, oh, I feel back online. It's like with a computer, if you are installing a new program, you can't use the whole program. It goes offline temporarily while the new install is being introduced into the greater algorithm. And these are the programs. It literally is. This is why, forget brain retraining. You have just rewired your brain naturally. And more importantly, you haven't rewired it into what the ego thinks you should be. It's rewired it naturally by who you are, by bringing back a part of yourself into consciousness. And there, you've just released some energy back into the environment of you. You've repressed something that you have become more yourself. And we do this layer by layer. If you did it all in one go, your head would explode and your nervous system would fry. Okay? You do it bit by bit in waves. So you see it in cycles. And people will probably notice this. You allow, oh, I'm having a good day. It goes in, you think, I feel a bit better. This is where people are tempted to squander the good day and think, I'll do loads of stuff and be me. Who you think is me is not you. That was the coping mechanism. And then the next day, as it is integrating, you go, oh, I did too much. One day on, one day off. If you hold it, you allow this cycle. So you'll feel it goes through, I'm allowing it. Oh, that feels pretty awful. I'm integrating. That feels like absolute hell. But I've allowed it. And then there's a brief moment of like, whew, I feel okay. It's in and round we go. Another layer. It's a bit like a boil, shall we say, all these lovely bodily functions. It comes to a head. It's trying to clear the infection. It's trying to clear that which is no longer needing to be repressed. Comes to a head, bam, done. Okay, that's it. It doesn't feel pleasant, but by the time you're experiencing the boil, you'll think, oh my God, actually, that's just the point before healing. This is the healing. But if you think pain is dangerous, this is the problem, because you're trying to then stop it. So the key thing here is that we have to become allowers, which means we are retraining the ego, the running center of consciousness and who we are, to identify with being someone who now stays, who doesn't interfere, who commits to a schedule and is prepared to hold and experience what's happening in the body, even when we're used to running up into our heads, to not interfere. And that's the key. And then we can allow the emotion to move through bit by bit. We cannot do it cognitively. So we're returning from the thinking brain, which is a trauma response, back into the feeling mind. Okay, that rather than the thinking mind to the feeling mind, you have to come back to the body. Show of hands here. How many people live in their heads? Navigate living in their heads. Yeah. Bella says no. I think, are you a head person? You are. Okay, yeah. Because I would be extremely surprised if not. Because your body is doing this stuff anyway for you. But it can't move through without your consent. And you have to give it your attention. You have to give it your attention. And by the way, Heidi's saying that if you are an allower, if you have a schedule, that is backup allowing. So it's doing the job for you. This is the amazing thing. So you're 24/7 allowing if you do a schedule and stick to it. And don't blow it, and don't let the ego entice you away and say, look, you can be like you again. You can just say yes when you mean no, or give that thing to someone else, or listen to them whittering on the phone because you're always the one that listens to them who isn't there for you in return. Whatever. You have to just go, no, I now have boundaries. And the boundaries have to come from the deeper place that you know in your heart is you. So all get sucked into productivity. I'm allowed to live. I'm allowed to exist. I'm making something. You know, personally, I'm not into capitalism. I don't think it's worked very well. And look, this is all part of the detritus from it. We are only allowed to exist if we produce. Which, as I point out, if you're a baby or an old person, I mean, this sort of has the sniff of euthanasia to me. We don't look at babies and say, look at you doing nothing, lying there, not making anything, not earning money, just crying and doing that, or to old people, look at you. No, we don't. But we're doing it to ourselves. Okay. So I don't know, Paolo just put something up. I don't know. He's saying ask that at the end. Maybe we'll do that. So we have to allow nature to heal us and update. And as you start allowing emotion, you no longer need the symptom. The symptoms will dissolve and vanish. That's it. Okay? Because it's the only thing that will get you back in the body. If you choose to come back in the body and consciously say, I want you back, you won't need symptoms. You don't need fatigue to put you into bed so you can feel your grief, your rage that you were never able to express. You won't need to have anxiety to express the fear that has accumulated because as a child, there was no one else to comfort and hold you when you were scared. You'll just feel it. And I can tell you for a fact, feeling fear is about 1,000 times more pleasant than feeling somatic anxiety, or when it comes to this sort of tertiary emotional thing, ruminating. You know, because remember, kids, overthinking is under feeling and all the actions here. So.
Overthinking is under feeling is such a wonderful,
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
So obvious, isn't it? Yeah.
The extent to which, it's interesting in modern society how much permission we're actually given to be in the body and how safe we feel doing so. Because everything about the way that it feels as if we're raised, conditioned, is to stay up here, is to stay burying and pushing things down. God forbid we are in the body and every day. I think you mentioned the ego a lot. It feels threatened to do so. We'll be vulnerable. We'll be exposed. We'll get hurt or we'll hurt someone.
Yes, because once we were, and we have to be what is socially acceptable. But that means fitting into someone else's shape. Aristotle spoke about it in his forms. You have a form. You have a blueprint. It is you. Okay? And we've had to stray from that. We've had to deform to fit into somebody else's environment. Now, of course, adaptation is something we do, but to totally abandon oneself, which is what we've all done. We have abandoned ourselves in the way other people abandoned us as children. And John T will be talking to you a lot about the parts that have been exiled and abandoned and forgotten. And now they are coming back as our symptoms. And I want you to now start thinking about your symptoms as little you, as part of you. Your emotion, your symptom is an emotion that that you at a certain point in your life couldn't feel. Your gut issues are a small child who felt nervous about school or something, who couldn't express it. So now it's stuck there. And you've got to start with the gluten intolerance. And it always starts with these tiny things. We have a society who is now intolerant to ourselves. We are emotionally constipated. We think, we're talking about all our problems. It's so interesting because emotions are they have to be digested and metabolized just like a meal. And it's like we're eating and we're eating and we're eating and we never digest. And it's emotional indigestion we have. Nobody has an allergy. There's nothing wrong with the food. It's never the food. And I work with people who can eat 2 foods when you first meet them. It's never you. Did you have that?
Once upon a time, yeah, it was white rice and grilled chicken.
Yeah. There you go. Nothing to do with the food.
No, well, it was a need for control, and I just couldn't let go of control. But yeah, I was just like, I guess I'm just going to eat boiled chicken and rice for the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's the fact it's trying to tell you something. It's trying to get you to provoke, to experience what's underneath at the very place you need to be, which is where you're bloating, where your IBS is, where your pain is. The pain, and it's not. It's emotional pain that we couldn't feel because it felt painful then, and it is now somaticized into physiological. It's psychosomatic conversion in the old money. They've known about this for thousands of years, and it's only us in the West who is so dumb now. We have abandoned nature. We have abandoned our own nature. We have abandoned ourselves. And we are so sick as a result of it. And just because everyone else is doing stuff, we've got to stop taking our guidance from out there and start to bring agency home and reinstate our instinct. And your instincts are what's trying to help you now. This is what's trying to come back on board via your symptoms. And they are your guides. These are your primary emotions. But the ego will hate it, absolutely hate it. But by God, it will change your life. And in the end, you'll suddenly realize, oh my God, who was that person I thought I was? That was the whole thing, was a don't kill me, don't leave me, accept me, love me, don't frighten me role we're playing to survive. It wasn't living. You know, I don't know if that resonates with people, but maybe we're just so used to surviving we think it's living. You know,
The thoughts in our head are us. We think, you know, everything occurring for us is who we are. You mentioned parts work before. Protectors will always fear the same thing. They think if we feel these emotions, they're going to overwhelm us, they're going to last forever, they're going to kill us. By the time you get to the exiles in IFS therapy, by the time I did, got to my exiles, little boy that felt shame, felt anger. I said, where do you feel that emotion? He points at his belly. It was clear as day.
there you go.
You mentioned it, I was like, okay. And then we're right on the hour, which is unfortunate because I had such a question about reassurance I wanted to ask, and maybe we can, I want to do the allowing practice and make space for everyone's questions.
Well, say it, it's fine. We can be flexible.
Something that's important in IFS therapy and something that you mentioned when we spoke is about reassurance. In IFS therapy, we speak about how reassurance is something called a self-like part. It acts as self, but it's like self. You think it's doing a good job by trying to help the person, but actually it's not. It's not allowing, it's trying to rescue, it's trying to fix. And my instinct when I saw that little boy pointed at his stomach, sexual shame, anger, was to try and stop him feeling those emotions.
Yes.
To reassure him, it's going to be okay, we're going to get you out of this. And for the life of me, he wouldn't leave the room. He was there, he was crying, I was there with him, but he wouldn't leave. It was only, and I had a very skilled IFS therapist at the time. Let's not reassure him, let's not rescue him. Let's let him feel his anger.
Yes.
Let's let him connect to that feeling in the body, and I want you to feel that in your belly right now as well. Such a big shift. And you mentioned it when we spoke, and it was so aligned with IFS therapy.
Yeah.
We're on the hour. I don't know if you're happy to touch on that just briefly.
Yes, I want to. Well, it's absolutely true because, as you say, it's all protectors. You know, these are complexes in Jungian terms that have formed. These are clusters of behaviours and feelings and stuff that have just been, you know, they are the parts. They are schema. They fit in with all of these things, and it's because it was so overwhelming for little you to feel that feeling once because there was no one there to witness, and then other parts develop to keep it away from that wound. But in fact, they're all little scared parts of John T because they don't realise that John T is a grown-up. And they will often have the flavour of sounding convincing. This is the part that will get you to Google, to look for reassurance, to check with people, to all of these things, to just say, no, I can't do that. All of these things. And you have to realise, no, reassurance is avoidance. The reassurance is that everything is safe. If the self has brought it to you in the body and you do it within a safe schedule, which will always mean you're titrating the right amounts, you will never get overwhelmed, you don't go looking for it, you don't go digging for it, and it's always safe. But there will be parts that freak out, that your ego will not like it. These parts that are in service will not like it, but it's safe. Because just think of them as little scared children. But that you are not that. You are the self, the big parent now, who's effectively like the harsh mother saying, it's okay to feel and survive it, and to realize, oh my God, it didn't kill me. It's now safe to feel fear, because fear is the place between danger and escape. If you didn't have fear, you'd be dead like that. Grief is the place between loss and reconnection and adaptation to an environment that is having to adapt to the fact that it's a new landscape. If you don't have it, you stay stuck in the past. And loss, of course, isn't just about losing a person. It could be loss of a job, loss of identity. If you don't constantly move and adapt, it doesn't update. Okay. And anger is boundaries. Anger is just saying no. And if you don't, you will lose yourself and you will give yourself away. And it's a survival thing. And we don't know they're there. So rather than the moment you're having to think, should I do that thing? Once you start reconnecting with your instincts, you say, no, thanks. And there might be a little part going, I really should go to that party because people might think I'm a bad person. And you'll just know, it's like, no, I'd love to, but I can't. And you won't feel bad about it. You'll do the things that are aligned and coherent. And so you won't exhaust your body and won't abandon your true self. Think about little Jonty was abandoned, that little boy abandoned, you know. And then he was gathered in. He was allowed to show it's safe to be vulnerable, to feel fear, to cry. Boom. Yeah. So.
We got there after all. We got to the crying Jonty after all.
Yeah. Crying.
The angry Jonty. You made a good. I mean, you made so many good points. You know, not just one. I had so many follow-up questions, but we do have to shift. I love the lifespan of an emotion being 90 seconds. You know, it's so true. You know, once you really reside in it, I mean, those 90 seconds, depending on the emotion, can feel like a lifetime. So it's what often takes people, you know, as long as it needs to get through this process. I have so many follow-up questions. Perhaps we'll have time at the end. If not, another workshop we're going to have to do.
Yeah.
So
we try doing some allowing together.
that's what we should try and do. Definitely. Okay. So do you want to?
I would really recommend. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, you go.
I was going to say, I really like to do allowing on the floor if you can. If you feel capable of lying on the floor. Now, this is a skill, by the way. I'm just saying, you allow everywhere. It's a place of re-embodiment. You're dropping into your body. But we're going to do a sort of bigger one here. And I'll talk to you how to do allowing on the go. And I've got lots of stuff of that. But it's effectively going into your body and seeing what's there. And staying there with it. And very, very kind of parts working in that way. You just see things as an object. You're establishing that there is an energy within you, whether it's raw sensation, a symptom, whatever, and you become the witness of it. But emotion can only move by having the signal that it's now safe to feel it. And the number one way you do that is you stay with it. And that creates ventral vagal safety. Do not be tricked by all this vagus nerve toning and stuff, for God's sake. It's artificial. As you do this, guess what? Your vagus nerve does a full workout on its own. You don't have to interfere and poke it. It will happen. It's so much easier. It's the ultimate biohack is nature. You don't have to like push it and make the flower grow. Okay. So if you'd like to lie down, lie down. If you'd like to sit in a chair, whatever.
So this is an invitation for everyone. So you want to do this now, Sam? So for allowing. So yeah. So.
And you can be off screen, so you really feel comfortable not being observed. If you feel self-conscious.
There's a lot of. I've only just changed the gallery view to see where everyone is. So yeah, everyone, if you'd like to do the allowing practice that Sam is going to lead, you can.
Wherever you are, and my folks know how to do this, obviously. So.
Change the view.
The first thing you're going to do is actually realize you have a body. And I want you to drop out of your thinking mind, which will be high up in your cranium, right up in your head, and go down a notch. And drop into your body, almost as you were taking a pair of glasses off your head and letting them drop on a string onto your chest. That is the center of where your awareness should be. And it's the place from which you can be aware of all six senses and what your mind is doing if you need to do anything. I'd like you now to really fully inhabit this body of yours that's the exact shape of who you consider yourself to be. And it's almost as if it was a glass receptacle, like a snow globe in the shape of you. It's just a solid container that's got stuff going on inside. It's got its whole ecosystem, a whole pattern, a weather system, like a mini universe, a whole dynamic mini natural environment that's constantly moving and changing, cells dividing, breath, hormones, energy, just all doing their thing. And they're all trying to do their thing. Next, I want you to say to your ego, and this is the only place we really want the ego to be involved, consciously just watch and descend into the body. And then I want you to stand to one side after we've given it one more instruction. And then I want you inwardly to say with great authority and meaning to your true self, the self you were before you abandoned yourself, show me how I actually feel. Show me what is trying to come into consciousness right now. And stay in the body, and something might appear. It might be something very obvious. It might be a pain. It might be your symptom. It might just be a fluttering or heat. Whatever it is, see it as an object. And then I want you to do one last thing with the ego before we're just going to let it sit on the benches. And I want you to get it to breathe a small, natural breath. It might be a tiny, tiny breath, just slowly to the point where you feel resistance. And it might mean you're only breathing just sort of at the point where your neck is or in your chest. And when you feel that resistance, you've found a part of yourself. You've found an energetic charge. And you're going to stay with it. And then the ego is going to step aside. And I want you now to let your breath breathe to this threshold and stay exactly at this point with that object, with that energy. And now realize this is a younger part of you. And say to it, I'm here. Show me how you felt when you couldn't before. I will never abandon you again. Ever. Ever. And then imagine a space around this charge, this younger part of you, this part, this energy, and invite it to express in whatever way it wishes to. For some people, it might not want to move. It might feel too frozen and frightened and just want you to sit next to it like a frightened child, like a frightened animal. And you say, I'm not leaving you again. How do you feel? And then say, show me. Show me in my own body now how you felt back then when no one was there to sit with you, to witness you, to validate you, to soothe you. Because you are now being the parent to yourself. The self is here, and this part can express itself. And your body knows what to do. So let that energy, if it wishes to now, move. You might feel heat, you might feel buzzing, trembling, nausea, whatever. Let it express. And the language of the body is emotion and sensation. Let it speak to you from behind the symptom. This frightened, angry, sad child. who's been waiting for you to come back and listen, to come back into your own body and stop abandoning yourself any longer. And whatever your breath wants to do, let it do it naturally. Watch it as if it was a precision tool excavating a seam of gold. And you might have teeny tiny weeny breaths, almost as if you feel like you're going to suffocate, like air hunger. Your breath knows what to do. You might feel sick, you might feel panic. That's just the ego, because it thinks it's not okay and it needs to protect the younger part of you. So let the breath now breathe exactly as it wants to, as you invite the body to express itself in whatever way it wishes. And make the space around you even bigger. Remember, you are the container of the snow globe. Let whatever wants to shake up, shake. Then it will eventually settle. It knows what to move, it knows where to move it. And you might find it wants to travel up the midline of your body. It might even want to travel even higher. Just say, I want more. Show me more. I can hold you now. And allow it to express. No need to soothe it, quiet it, just say no. Everything is perfect. And if the ego tries to step in and send you back into thinking, tell you what's this woman talking about, it's a load of old rubbish, go back into the body and feel what it's trying to distract you from, because it's safe. It's you coming back to yourself as an adult. And you are giving permission and inviting the body to express and speak what it's been holding for so long. Let the breath breathe you naturally. And then wherever your energy is, it might be in the chest, might be in the neck or throat or face, or even higher, it might reach your head. Just say, I'll be back. Whenever you have energy, old charge, ready to come to consciousness to be processed, that's when I'll have a spike in symptoms. And I will run to you immediately like a child in danger that needs comforting. And I will be there with you, not to silence you again, but to listen to emotions, to this language. And I want to invite the body to now let that energetic charge move through the system as if it was ink dropped into water. And imagine your extremities, the top of your head, your feet, your back, your front, and let that energy move through the system and find its own way back to the dynamic. You can place your hand on that younger part physically and tell them, I will never ignore you again. Never try and get rid of you. Never avoid you. I'm always listening, and I will always allow you to speak. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and sit back up. Oh, everyone's gone to sleep. So that was like a longer allowing session, and there's many ways of doing it, and I want to teach you another thing as well that's really quick and easy.
Thanks for watching that replay with Sam. I'll stop it there. If you want to watch the full 2 hours where Sam goes into more detail and we open up the room for questions and answers, then head over to my Pain Relief community. You can click the link below. You can join for free. You can watch the full replay. Looking forward to meeting you.